Hi everyone, and welcome to our third Everyday Digital webinar all about digital sustainability. As Kate said, my name is Chris. I am a PHP developer here at Studio 24 and a digital sustainability advocate. I'm also an invited expert with the W3C Web Sustainability Interest Group, and I've been passionate about digital sustainability for a number of years. The presentation today will be focused on digital sustainability for websites, as the title suggests, as well as the wider impact that digital sustainability can have on how your organization operates digitally. The presentation will be about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more, and we'll have some time for questions at the end. But please put your questions in the chat throughout, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. So a quick hello to anybody who's new to Studio 24. We are based in Cambridge and we've been around for over a quarter of a century now, which feels like it's a massive achievement. And we're doing our bit to build a web that is better for people and the planet. We're happy to share our knowledge, share the knowledge that we've built over the years through this series of webinars. Um, Finally, a little bit of housekeeping. As I said before, please write your chats in the, please write your questions in the chat as we go along, or raise your hand at the end if you do have a question. If we've got more questions than time, then we'll try to answer as many as we can over email as well. Don't feel that you have to screenshot the presentation or screenshot anything. We'll send you everything afterwards. If you could put yourself on mute, so that there's no distractions in the background, and also turn off your video unless you're asking a question, that would be great as well. And I'll explain why shortly. So before we get started, it's important to know that your website, and in fact every website and other online activity, creates a carbon footprint. And that's what this webinar will hopefully explain, as well as give you an insight as to where that comes from and what you can do to lower it. So in this webinar, we are going to cover what creates the carbon footprint of your website, what we can do to lower it, the tools that can help in estimating the carbon footprint of our websites, as well as a couple of extra things to consider outside of websites to help combat our digital carbon footprint. So where does it all come from? Um, as that top line says, the carbon footprint is created by anything that uses electricity. And that's mainly due to energy generation, which still uses fossil fuels for the most part. There has been some change in that and kind of more renewables are being used, but primarily we still use fossil fuels. For digital sustainability, we can split this up into three very distinct areas. Firstly, let's look at hosting. So for websites to work, they need somewhere to be housed, where all the content and images can be processed and stored. Think of all the content on your website that your website displays and all the code needed for that website to run. That all needs to go somewhere. That all needs to be somewhere. Hosting is responsible for roughly 10% of the overall carbon footprint, but can be difficult to accurately measure due to how the server is managed and sometimes because the data simply doesn't exist. For websites and web applications to function, that content needs to be sent somewhere, and networks handle that. This is quite easy to estimate and can be more accurately measured with lots of additional data, such as carbon intensity and the time of the visit, as well as page size, which makes it very easy to reduce. Due to the amount of variation in hardware, the carbon footprint of devices is impossible to measure, especially when considering the carbon emissions of their manufacturing process, but it is still something that can be reduced. So that's a really quick whistle-stop tour of where that carbon footprint comes from, and I'm hoping that I still have your attention. I'm also hoping that everybody is sat there now thinking, what can I do? If we look at the sources and start estimating our carbon footprint of any website, we start to see that page size is directly linked to emissions. And that's where the focus of this webinar is, and where a lot of the best practices that have been published lie as well. So hosting can be is something that can be super simple to sort out in order to reduce its carbon emissions, uh, simply by swapping to a provider that uses renewable energy. Most of our clients here at Studio 24 are now hosted with Mythic Beasts, whose data center is powered by renewable energy, making it an easy recommendation. If for any reason they aren't suitable, then others can be found using the Green Web Foundation's hosting directory. The most widely used media type that has really high emissions are images, making up roughly 90% of all web traffic, and is something we can all do something about. We'll be staying on this little topic for a minute as there's quite a lot to say. Starting with lazy loading. So lazy loading is a technique where the browser doesn't load an image until it needs to be, like when a user scrolls near it, which then reduces the initial page size and its emissions. This image is taken from Google's developer documentation, and I'm hoping that it shows the impact that lazy loading images can have on page size and user experience, literally halving that initial page size. With compression, we can reduce the size of images, making them smaller and lighter. There are a multitude of apps and plugins and websites that can help with this and can reduce file size by 90% with very little difference in quality. This screenshot is from Squoosh, which is an online tool that helps you resize and compress images. And as you can see, resizing and compressing this images has reduced the file size by over 90%. Squoosh can also convert images as well to more modern formats, such as WebP or AVIF, which can reduce file size by an extra 70% in some cases. Although a JPEG or PNG fallback should still be added, simply because browser support isn't quite there yet. Another option is to stylize them, reducing colors, dithering them, reducing quality to super low, or swapping for illustrations where vectors can be used. Or in the case of this webinar, for the most part, use emojis. This is an example of a really light design. And as you can see, the images have been stylized to reduce their size to roughly 60 kilobytes each. For context, the average image is around 500 to 600 kilobytes in size. Lastly, the biggest impact we can have is to simply remove them. So question whether they are important for the user to see. For example, you wouldn't buy anything without seeing what it looks like, but is a stock image of a field or a factory or two people shaking hands, is that important for people to see? Similar to images, we can compress, resize, and question the use of videos. Where they are used, they should never be auto-played. This also aligns with accessibility guidelines too, where the audio conflict with screen readers, as well as the impact on users with cognitive or other sensory sensitivities. Where animated GIFs are used or GIFs, they should be swapped for a video as they are much smaller now and handled in a different way. But where video is embedded using an iframe, they can be lazy loaded as well, like images. But please be wary of any additional cookies that are set and make sure the cookies are accepted first. Um, so custom fonts. So custom fonts can be added, can definitely add to a user's experience by aligning better with aspects of a brand's visual identity. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't handle these files with care. Limiting their use to heading text only and simply using one typeface while using system fonts for body copy is one way to reduce them. Another way to reduce them even further is to subset them. So by selecting, by cutting down the characters that simply aren't used from the file. Um, if your website is multilingual and needs those additional characters, they can be handled by an additional file that is only then loaded when these characters are needed. And this is something that we can advise on. Lastly, same with the other methods that we've talked about, question their use. If they don't add a lot of value, don't use them. On web animations, I think we're all used to seeing things move and look really fancy as we interact with things. So animations can be an incredible tool when creating immersive online experiences, but they need to be proportionate and add value. Learning more about your target users would massively help with this, as they use more energy on a device than static content. Where they are used, a user should be able to control them to prevent any distraction or frustration while using your website or web application. Animated GIFs should never be used. Videos can be used where necessary and where the animation isn't based on user interaction. But using front-end technologies allows us to control animations better and is recommended by us as well as other published guidelines. While this isn't directly related to page size, this is still a best practice, especially when using a database-driven website, which most are, especially when you're considering WordPress, as it reduces the number of, or reduces the size of a database, making it quicker to load by reducing the strain on a server. This also massively helps with SEO as well, when multiple pieces of content are competing for the same keywords. Continuing on from that last point about SEO, reducing the size, reducing the size of the pages on our website will make them load quicker. And faster websites and faster pages rank higher in search engines and have higher conversion rates. There are numerous articles on this, which we can share afterwards if anybody's interested. There's also a couple of humanitarian examples of this. One example that springs to mind straight away is what CNN did to their website during one of the big storms in the US, where they removed everything that wasn't text. So no images, no JavaScript, no animations, basically just text. So that even if you were on a very slow internet connection, you could still get access to up-to-date news. This also touches on data poverty too, which is something that I'd like to talk about later or at a different time. Um, so to help get started, we should measure or at least estimate the impact that our digital estate currently has. It's worth noting as well that estimates are better than nothing at all, as long as we're transparent about what methodology we're being used, as they can still help you understand the next steps that should be used to reduce the impact. When it comes to websites and web applications, they can be estimated using the tools listed here, each of which have their own additional insights to help give you even more direction as to the actions that you can take. Beacon is always the top of my list. Is it something that I built before joining the team here at Studio 24? Um, so the guidance that we've just gone through as well, so reducing images, typefaces, animations, everything like that is something that we would recommend to everybody, and it's something that we're currently implementing on our own website. If you'd like to go deeper and look at some of the other guidance that's been published, these are the three best that we've found. There is a lot of overlap between these, but each one has their own different focus as well. So, as I said at the beginning of this webinar, it's not just websites that create a digital carbon footprint. There is something that we can do throughout an organization to help lower our carbon footprint. So the most widely accepted definition of digital sustainability was written by Tim Frick, who's another thought leader in this space. And he defines digital sustainability as the process of applying social, economic, and environmental stewardship principles to digital products, services, and data delivered via the internet. Obviously, we focused on environmental, as I think that's one of the easiest ones to focus on. But there's so much more. If we consider emails and social media and cloud storage, even delivering this content creates a carbon footprint. A study by Carnegie Mellon shows that storing 100 gigabytes of data in the cloud for 1 year generates 200 kilos of CO2. based on the US grid at the time. Think of all those old emails, those old photos, those old documents saved to the cloud, those old social media posts, and even old website content. Another study conducted by OVO Energy showed that if every Brit sent one less thank you email per day, I mean, at least we're polite, that it would save nearly 16,500 tons of CO2. Video calls, which we've all become accustomed to since the pandemic, create a huge carbon footprint too. Anywhere between 150 grams to a kilogram of CO2 per hour, according to a study by Purview. Luckily, turning off your video can reduce the impact by a massive 96%. And this is why I asked everybody to turn their cameras off at the beginning of the session. Also, I can't not use this as an opportunity to open the can of worms that is AI. Numerous studies have already been published regarding its extremely high energy and water demand, creating a perfect storm of environmental issues when it comes to how the technology is managed. When it comes to AI products and services, it's worth trying to limit their use and only use them when they can truly add value, or to find alternatives that don't have as high of an impact. My standpoint is that I'm not anti-AI, I'm anti-frivolous use. This point has been highlighted by recent trends, such as using AI to draw cartoon images of yourself, or the craze from a few months ago on LinkedIn where almost everybody wanted an action figure version of themselves. Even OpenAI reported that ChatGPT was literally melting hardware because of the additional demand due to these trends. So I'm pretty much at the end of my bit. These are a few of the references to links, well, links to some of the stuff that I've gone through. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure to give this webinar, introduce you to everybody to the idea of digital sustainability. If you're not sure how to get started and would prefer somebody to help with this, we can carry out a sustainability audit that will help show you where to reduce the impact and help streamline the digital experience of your website. We've just launched a digital sustainability audit service. So if you want to be one of the first people to use this, then please get in touch with us. Before we move on to questions, I'd like to introduce Susan Gowling and Matt Humphreys from Sustainable Tech for Good, who will give a quick talk about the more physical side of digital sustainability and the impact that they've had.
That's great. Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Sue Gowling. I'm the founder of Sustainable Tech for Good, and this is my colleague, Matthew Humphreys.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Chris. That was really interesting and hugely informative. A lot of good detail there that I think we all need to take on board. We enjoyed listening to that. And thank you very much, Kate, for inviting us this morning to talk about Sustainable Tech for Good. It's appreciated. So Sustainable Tech for Good is an organisation that addresses digital inclusion through the sustainable reuse of surplus tech. So quite a few words there. So digital inclusion is essentially digital poverty. There are huge swathes of the population that do not have access to any tech whatsoever. As such, they're not able to go online. They might be housebound, can't order their shopping. Might be mental health care. They can't go outside, but they could get counselling online. There's lots and lots of reasons why we need to make tech available to everybody. So we address that digital inclusion and that delta, that gap, by the reuse of surplus tech. So lots of large, medium and small organisations have tech, devices, networking server. When they do their upgrades, what do they do with their old tech? So what we do is we swoop in, we collect that tech, we securely data erase it for GDPR purposes, and we make it available once it's refurbished and tested to donate to those in need. And we also sell affordably through an online site called Tech for Change. So that's essentially who Sustainable Tech for Good are. We take surplus tech from organisations, we donate to those in need to help with digital exclusion, digital poverty, and we make that tech sustainable. So we're keeping that tech out of landfill. Thank you for the slides, Chris. It's a slide here showing our impact to date. So we founded Sustainable Tech for Good back in 2020. It was a lockdown project. We have a tech company too, so we started this through our tech company. It was just something, once we heard the stories and the need and the digital exclusion need and the fact that Surplus Tech wasn't addressing that, there was no way that we could stop doing it once we started. So as I say, the inception, we started in 2020, and this is our impact to date. So far we've helped, these stats are recorded every couple of months. So this was recorded back in February. There'll be more people helped and supported now and more kgs of waste saved. But up until the end of February, we'd helped just over nearly 7,500 individuals nationally. And that will cover, there's another slide which we'll share, Chris, and I can show the demographics. So the kgs of waste, we've saved over 12,000 kgs of waste. There's water saved. Actually, we could just flick back quickly to that. Sorry, Chris. Litres of water saved. Similar to Chris's discussion, I think we're probably unaware of just how much we use to manufacture new items. And we're not saying that you shouldn't manufacture new, because we understand there is a need for new. All we're saying is, look, let's, rather than put these devices in landfill, let's put them to good use. Let's save the environment, put them to good use, and help people. So there are stats, and we can share those online. We can share those after in the discussion later. And I think we can move to the next slide, Chris. Thank you. So impact to date, this is a national impact. We work fairly heavily in Cambridgeshire. We're based just south of Cambridge. So we do a lot in Cambridgeshire and the home counties. We also do a lot of work up in the northwest, Manchester, Liverpool, and over the borders up into Scotland. We do quite a bit of work in Wales as well. So it's a national impact stats here. Disability, devices to support disability. Education is a big one for us as well. We do a lot of homework clubs, a lot of schools we support. And these are families that simply cannot afford to buy tech for homework clubs, and certainly for schools as well. They don't have enough tech in the schools to support homework clubs and some young children, some young people. Education, disadvantaged youth. We do a lot with the councils, with care leavers. It's a big subject for us, care leavers, because once they're out of that care, there's a big delta, there's a gap there with the care leavers and the support that they get. They're kind of left to their own devices, or there are lots of charities out there trying to support that. We support with devices to help them get online and get some sort of education if they haven't actually achieved that, to help them get on it and get a foot on the ladder to get a job. Disadvantaged adults, disadvantaged youth, homelessness is again another big subject for us. So we support a lot of homelessness charities, prison services. It's just about getting people a device, getting them online, letting them feel worthy about themselves, learning a course, keeping them included and not excluded. Refugee support, that's a big section for us. We worked very heavily at the earlier part of Sustainable Tech for Good with the councils across the country, with the Ukrainian refugees, asylum seekers. It was a big subject at the time, so there's a lot of support went in that direction. So if we can move on from there. Thank you, Chris. How does it work? If there are any companies looking at this or listening to this, or what we do, we make it completely transparent and completely easy for companies. So we have our own ST4G tech couriers. So our guys are able to decommission servers or collect devices, whatever it is you need us to do. So we'll attend your site. We collect the tech. It's all safely collected, packed and protected. It's brought back to our organization. So it's door to door, because we're aware that there's data on devices. We bring it back here. That's tagged up. We create an audit. We share the audit with you, so you can see exactly what we've picked up. We do that within a week of the collection. And then we securely erase all the devices. So devices holding data with SSDs and HDDs in there, we erase that to government standard. So then we give you a report on data security, data erase by serial number. So your data security is completely covered. There should we allay any fears with that. We refurbish the devices. Once we've refurbished, we then speak with the organisation again and say, look, we're dealing with over 200 charities nationally. We would now like to donate some of your devices to those charities in need. And again, it covers a wide range of need. So they have a choice of who they would like to support. Some companies actually are already supporting charities in their community, and then we give devices to them to support those in need, whoever they're working with at that time. Once we've done that donation, we then look at the other part of the tech. It's a completely cost-neutral solution. So we go in, collect the tech, provide the reporting secure data arrays, sustainability reports, and once we've donated the devices, we also give digital inclusion reports. So it gives feedback to the company on who they've helped, which we think is important. It's important for the company to show that they've been sustainable to their staff, or for themselves, just to show that they're being sustainable and responsible with their surplus tech, but also that actually, let's open the door and have a look at what's actually going on out there. Your tech has been made sustainable, but it's supported people who just do not have tech. And how much support have you given them, and why has that been important? And I think that's a really important message that we feel that needs to be brought across. And often actually we introduce companies to charities. It actually helps a good synergy between the two, and the charities often get volunteers from the organisations that we've taken the tech from. So it's a good feel-good solution all round. As it's a cost-neutral solution, to say we donate some of that tech. The rest of the tech that we sell on our online store called Tech for Change. So it's tech and then the number 4, but we'll put that in the group message, Tech for Change. Now on that site, again, that tech's been refurbished, it's sustainable, it's very affordable. So once you go on, you can buy it's all tech, so it's devices to networking and server. When you purchase that tech, it shows you how much you as an individual have saved from landfill by buying sustainably. And what we also do to help you as an individual become digitally inclusive, once you've purchased, every 10 items we sell on that site, we will donate a device to a partner charity. So it encourages charities to keep on partnering and us helping more up and down the country. But you as an individual have saved from landfill, you've been sustainable, it's been affordable, and you've actually been able to support somebody who can't afford to even buy an affordable device online. So our solution is there to make organizations sustainable, responsible, and digitally inclusive. And the Tech for Change site is there to help us everyday people be sustainable and to support those who simply don't have the tech, give them access to that. So that's us, that's how we work. We've been around since 2020. We're growing quickly. And we're proud of the work that we do. And we hope that anybody listening to this today would consider speaking to their head of IT. And if they have any surplus tech, give us a shout, because we'd love to support you. And in turn, you'll be supporting us and those in need. So thank you very much.